And we didn't cover that, your
thinking,
spell
right?
on the Board of Education.
I was there nine years.
That was that before Corey was there?
No, after Corey.
After. Corey was very good on the Board of Education. She was always supportive of the program. She was supportive of pre-kindergarten. She was supportive of the program I was in, which was always on the chopping block. It eventually got chopped in 1981. But she was always very supportive.
So then she just left and you came, or was a period of time between?
I don't know.
There was an interim in there.
There was a period of time in there when she was off. I was
you
on
didn't.
the board.
You didn't get on the board until you retired from
81.
teaching. After that,
That was funny. I got called at midnight and told that my job had been eliminated. So I went in the next morning and said, and Dr. Thompson came in and says, "What are you here for?" And I said, "I'm getting a petition to run for the Board of Education." He said, "Well, you can't run for the Board of Education." I said, "Oh, yes, I can. I will no longer be an employee of the school system on July 1st.
Uh-oh, they still have you, right?
They did. I enjoyed that. I think we had a good board.
I think you made some tough decisions sometimes.
We had Rita Costello and Helbig and Skip Jensen and Audrey Wolcott. I think we had a good board. She was she was president most of the time I was on. And then Taylor came on. We had a good board.
Corey mentioned a lot of the accomplishments her group did. What accomplishments you put into your years that group did? What did you accomplish different?
I don't know.
Just kept it going.
I think a lot of, when you were on the board, was a healing process because they'd gone through some nasty negotiations.
Yeah.
This was when Corey left. She was talking about the striking and.
Yeah.
So
well, that was a period. Then we had another period. They get rough times every once in a while.
Yeah, I think they're headed for a rough time right now.
I think you're right. They're in a rough time.
They're in a rough time. I think the thing that our board did was we presented a united front. We might have had some squabbles when we were discussing things that legally we could discuss in a closed session, but when we came out, we presented a united front, and they were willing to. I forget what. There was a big hullabaloo about something. I forget what. And I know it was using the buildings for the. They started to charge. They wanted to charge for the use of the buildings on Saturday morning for the basketball program, and some of us said no, and we got along with that.
Going back to what major accomplishment, as I said, healing, because I remember in 1979-80, very bad contract negotiations, and I was one of maybe 3 people who did not resign positions.
Oh.
Everybody resigned everything.
Oh,
But I had been, they were work to rule, but I had been on with the senior class. I had been since they were freshmen all the way up through, and not because my daughter, but it was my daughter's class. That's why I remember the year. But her class was the only class that had advisors that year.
Oh boy.
And the other thing I remember was I had gone to the school board because I had to go. I wrote a replication grant, so we could start the Course 1, 2, 3 program. Money for books and so on. And I went to the board in January of 1980 because that was the thing that was coming up that had to be done next. And I had started the application like 2 or 3 years prior to that. And I got ripped up one side and down the other by fellow teachers who said I shouldn't do this because it was work to rule and I was damaging their chances at a contract settlement. And I said I was sorry. I had worked on this far too long. It meant too much to the math curriculum, and I had to be true to myself, and I did it. But I remember when you came on, it was a healing process.
They didn't know how I was going to behave.
Well, I think that's because of going in and asking for your application so quickly.
Well, I mean, I felt that I was unjustly let go. See, I was at 19 and a half years and 64 and a half years old. And all I really wanted to do was stay on till April, so that I had 20 years in, and be 65, and
So you didn't get the retirement then?
I did, but I didn't get as much as I would have. But but they thought I was going to come on and be an obstructionist, but I went on so that nobody else would get the same kind of a deal. And so the pre-kindergarten program would be continued, and strings would be continued, and because there was a time when they were trying to get rid of all those things which I thought was necessary, and other members of the board thought were necessary, and so the reason I went on the board was to make sure that none of the other programs that were beneficial to children would be cut. The gifted and talented program was on the chopping block, and strings were on the chopping block. All these things were things that were, and somebody called me up and said, well, I want the strings cut. You're going to raise my taxes 4%. I said, well, you're going to raise my boat rental 10%. And so if you don't like what I'm doing, don't vote for me. I said I did not get on the board to cut programs. I got on the board to keep programs. And I made that perfectly plain from the very beginning.
And you were successful. The
program
was still there.
Oh, yeah. We kept them all. It was sometimes not an easy fight, but
so that's what you accomplished.
The school is for kids.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of things out there that can help children that don't cost a lot of money.
But see, if they aren't state mandated, the boards of education
Don't know about 'em.
in their budget cutting will cut the things that aren't mandated, and so that's what you had to fight for. Some of the programs that were good but not state mandated.
And the other thing, I think the teacher appreciation. I was on there about 1.5 years when I suggested that we have a teacher appreciation day, and we did. We had a luncheon, and those who had been there so many years were given programs, and somebody came to me and said, this is a great program, and I kind of looked at him kind of funny, and he said, whose idea was that? I said, well, I'm the one who took it to the superintendent.
Is it still going on?
I don't know.
In some degree, it's not. I want to tell you, this has been a pleasure. Some of these stories I didn't know, some of them I did know, and
I've enjoyed having it.
you've refreshed my mind on some of them also. So again, we want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us.